This is Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth. For competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty. For the Republic.
I'm the guy who at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Klayman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. A lot of things happening this week that we're going to talk about, not just happening with regard to other people and what they're doing, like Robert Mueller, the outrageous raid on the office of the president's lawyer, Michael Cohen, but what we're doing at Freedom Watch. We're going to talk about all of that because somebody's got to fight back. Well, we can't take punches anymore because the raid of Michael Cohen's office tells you everything. Now, whatever you may think of Michael Cohen, whatever you may think of whether or not money was being paid for hush money, for prostitutes and this or that, the fact is that Mueller raided a lawyer's office. Now, lawyers aren't sacrosanct. Larry Klayman started Judicial Watch back in 1994. Of course, that's yours truly, to be the anti-lawyer. Lawyers are some of the biggest problems in society. The lawyers become judges. The judges rubber stamp what the establishment politicians want. Lawyers frequently are not honest. There's an expression, how do you tell if a lawyer is lying? He's moving his lips. There's another joke that says, why is it that a lawyer doesn't get attacked if he's in the sea by sharks? Professional courtesy. You know, all of that, regrettably, is largely true. But you don't go into the president's lawyer's office and take all of his stuff that deals with attorney-client information without any basis to do it. And not all lawyers are bad. And I'm not saying that Michael Cohen is either good or bad, but the fact is he's the president's lawyer. And this tells you what's been going on, because I have a column that's coming out tonight on WND.com. I urge you to read it. It's the people who figuratively should be taken the first to the guillotines when the revolution breaks out. And of course, first and foremost is Robert Mueller. Robert Mueller is a creature of the establishment of both political parties. These political parties would like to see the president dead, frankly. Dead legally and sometimes dead otherwise, God forbid. But that's a fact because they feel that he's taking away their power in Washington. He's not only mixing up the swamp, the alligators can't move around as freely as they did before, but their money train is being broken up. The money train of people like Karl Rove on the Republican side and the money train of James Carville on the Democrat side, the money train of Fox News on the conservative side, and the money train of CNN on the leftist side. Both of these establishments, whether it's political establishment or whether it's government establishment or whether it's judicial establishment or whether media establishment, they are all profiting off of this. And frankly, and I don't really want to knock Fox News. They do a good service. They don't tell it straight up like we tell it here. I mean, they sugarcoat everything. And that's why I go to alternative media. And that's why I'm not on as much on Fox News as I am on other places, because you basically have to say certain things to stay on Fox News. I'm going to tell it like I have to tell it, because this country is headed down the drain. And this raid on Michael Cohen's office tells you the whole story. It tells you when you see Attorney General Jeff Sessions, an establishment Republican, sit back and watch it happen and do nothing. It tells you something when you see the Republican establishment characters in Congress sit back and watch it happen. I mean, they should be hauling Mueller up on a subpoena right now to testify as to what was the basis for doing this through the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York. But they don't want to do that. They just want to go on Fox News and raise money and promote themselves and get reelected. It's a dog and pony show in Washington, D.C. That's all it's been. And the regrettable part of it is that Trump's own lawyers, Jay Sekulow and Ty Cobb. Jay's a nice guy. He's a good religious rights lawyer, as I've said. He's a loyal guy, but he's out of his league here. And the guy who claims to be in the league, Ty Cobb, the grandson of the great baseball player, he struck out. Unlike his granddad, this guy's a basic loser. I went up against him during the 1990s with the Chinagate scandal. He was representing the communist Chinese spy, John Wang. He's a Democrat. What the heck is he doing in and around the president? This is his legal team. Now, regrettably, Joe DeGeneva, who actually has some guts, for some reason, he had to bow out. This guy's left defenseless. The president is left defenseless. He's got people around him that either don't have loyalty to him or don't have the expertise to defend him, and he's being railroaded. And this is why I need to be appointed special counsel. This is why I go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org. I can't urge you enough. freedomwatchusa.org. Sign the petitions to have me appointed special counsel. I'll take these swamp creatures apart. I'll send them to the bottom of the lagoon. And I'm not talking in my home state of Florida. I'm talking to the lagoon in Washington, D.C. I pledge my life's sacred honor and everything I've got to try to save this country. No one else can and will do it. And we have lawsuits already pending at Judicial Watch to do that, whether I'm appointed special counsel or not. We've got a lawsuit seeking all the documents of Robert Mueller and his communications with his leftist staff with the media. He's leaking grand jury information by the minute. This is a crime. So I have a lawsuit to uncover that. And we have to push the Democrat-appointed judge, Emmett Sullivan, who was appointed by Bill Clinton to get these documents. This is the same judge that allowed for limited questioning of Hillary Clinton with my former group, Judicial Watch. He needs to be pushed. You know, it wasn't enough what he did with Hillary Clinton. It was basically slow rolling everything. But I'm pushing him. And there are other federal judges as well that we're in front of. We're up in a court of appeals seeking to have investigations started by the Office of Professional Responsibility and the Inspector General into these criminal leaks. Because if we can show that these criminal leaks occurred, Mueller is going to be forced to resign. Now, the president has a free hand right now. The president has had his attorney-client privilege and work product doctrine, that's the lawyer's internal impressions and preparations for legal matters, severely violated. He can fire Mueller. He can finally get rid of Sessions. He can get rid of the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, who I call Rod Frankenstein, frankly. The guy's brain dead. He's a typical deep state individual who tries to placate both sides, who's looking out for himself. Of course, so is Sessions, because they don't want to push too hard. They don't want any blowback. They want career advancement in Washington. In the case of Sessions, he's worried that he's going to wind up indicted by Mueller for alleged Russian collusion or obstruction of justice in the firing of James Comey, or lying to Congress about his meetings with Russian Ambassador Kislyak. This is what you're dealing with. And this is why this country's headed into, not quite apart from me being appointed special counsel, and I hope that this will stem the possibility that we're going into a second American Revolution. And this time, God forbid, and I don't advocate it, but as Jefferson predicted, he said that the country's going to have to spill blood every other generation. I don't want to see that happen. No one wants to see that happen, but that's what's going to happen. You've already got the left in the streets. They're urging the left to come out to commit more violence, the Antifas, the groups backed by George Soros and Obama from his mansion in Colorado, Washington. They're orchestrating these things, Eric Holder, others. But you're going to start seeing right-wing militias in the streets very shortly, and they're going to be well armed. And this country is going to go up in flames, and we've got to avoid that. And that's why I want to be appointed special counsel, because I will have the powers of the Justice Department. I will have the ability to make my own decisions on behalf of the American people. I'll have the ability not just to finally investigate, indict, and convict the Clintons, to do the same thing with the deep state individuals by the name of John Brennan, who ran the CIA illegally under Obama, surveilling virtually the entire American people, James Clapper, that lying director of national intelligence. He lied under oath. He should be put away. Obama himself, Eric Holder, a host of others, James Comey, of course. All these individuals need to be held to account because we have a dual system of justice right now.
2 minutes.
It's ridiculous. So this is why I need to be appointed special counsel. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. I know I sound like a broken record each week, but no one else can and will do it. Only Larry Klayman will do it. I will risk everything for you, the American people. So sign the petition at freedomwatchusa.org. And I want you all to get out there. And I want you to send emails, and I want you to send letters to the White House. Send them to President Trump. Tell him, look, you need to meet with Larry. You need to have him appointed special counsel. Don't be afraid. Don't listen to what your hapless, do-nothing lawyers are telling you. Just go along with the flow. It's not going to end well. You've got the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, fortunately resigning this week. I mean, this guy was a two-faced twit. But the fact is he's driven even the establishment into the tank, and the Republicans are most likely going to lose the House in the fall elections. And in that, we're going to get impeachment. We're going to get a conviction trial in the Senate. We need to take these people out legally before this ever happens, before any impeachment reports are sent to Congress. So this is our quest. This is our task. We're sitting on a precipice. We're sitting on the cliff. And there are individuals like Jeff Sessions, Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein, that are watching us being pushed over the cliff as a people. Our republic is being destroyed. We need to now take legal action into our own hands. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. Urge the president to appoint me special counsel. Send him letters and emails. Inundate the White House with this. I need to sit down and talk to him. I need to shake him up because, frankly, he doesn't have a clear head right now. He's getting bad advice. I'm going to be right back, and we're going to be talking about another outrage. That's Facebook and what's been going on with Facebook and the discrimination against conservatives in this country in particular. And I've got my great friend and my colleague, Floyd Brown of Western Journalism, who's going to come on and talk about this with me. I'll be right back.
Fearless.
He's claiming he's crazy, he's racist, he's out to kill the Democrats.
Dangerous.
You don't care, he uses the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special prosecutor
Very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
I want to introduce you now to my great friend. You probably already know him because he's very prominent. He's one of the true freedom fighters. I've known him for about 25 years. He is a true hero, and his name is Floyd Brown. And he's going to be talking about what his website does because it has tremendous reach, but it's been cut back recently by Jeff Zuckerman at Facebook. And it's also been cut back just generally by the leftist media, which is trying to take all of us down, as well as the establishments of both political parties. We don't sugarcoat what it is we say. We tell the truth. And that's why I say we need people like Floyd. Floyd, I want to introduce you to our audience here. They probably already know you to a large extent. But
well, Larry, it's great to be with you.
The same. Give us your thoughts on the state of the nation and our ability to communicate, to wage a peaceful second American revolution, short of a violent one, which we both want to avoid.
Everybody wants to avoid a violent revolution, but the way a violent revolution gets started, Larry, is when people have no voice and the people can't express themselves, and there's no ability to allow the people to have recourse. We are in a situation now in America where there's literally a deep state or an establishment that is not willing to turn over the federal government to the duly elected president, Donald Trump. And so they have been doing everything they can to both frustrate his ability to govern, but also his ability to get his people into positions of power where they can control agencies. And also, they have been waging literally a nonstop war using the Justice Department and this outrageous special counsel system, and it's virtually a coup attempt. I mean, it's literally a coup attempt. And what the former FBI director is doing this weekend, where he's, saying such outrageous things that have basically all been proven as untrue, it's a very difficult time, and people that supported President Trump and people that have supported Republicans and the Republicans in Congress have every right to be outraged at the way we've been frustrated at every step by the elites and this secret state that is being run out of the intelligence agencies. It's an outrage, and you're right. They have so much damaging information on different members of Congress because of their surveillance of all of these members of Congress. They're literally able to force Congress to vote any way they want, and it's an outrage.
You're absolutely right, Floyd. And we have the establishments of both parties that don't like Trump, that want him gone. Thank God this week that our soon-to-be former speaker, Paul Ryan, is leaving, because here's somebody who, in my view, is two-faced. He was claiming to try to further his agenda. And what you do, and I want to talk about that, is so important because you educate the American people. You give the clarion call. You are the modern-day Paul Revere, and I try to do the same in trying to have the people understand that these politicians and judges and lawyers, they just don't represent us anymore, is that we need to do it for ourselves. And this is being snuffed out by now an admitted platform, Facebook, which is censoring people like you. And that's what we need to really address at this point in time. It's a serious problem.
Yeah, well, we can talk about this when we get back, Larry, but the truth is that Facebook, which is supposed to be, quote, a social network where people send messages to one another, to people they like, all of a sudden, from on high, Mark Zuckerberg, who's the CEO, has given his team marching orders to censor conservative speech. And so now it's not operating like a social network. Instead, it's morphing into a propaganda network for this deep state and for this establishment. The only messages that are getting out are those that are approved by the left-wing media. It's very dangerous.
It's funny. I said Jeff Zuckerberg. I was thinking of Jeff Zucker in conjunction with Mark Zuckerberg at CNN. They're the Bobbsey twins of the left. But we're going to be right back, and we're going to talk about this with Floyd because this is a crisis in this country, what's going on with the social media. We'll be right back.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
We're back with Floyd Brown. We're talking about Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg and the censorship that's going on with regard to conservative media. Floyd, lay this out for our listeners because it wasn't entirely clear this week, listening to Congress, listening to the hearings, exactly how dangerous what's going on is. And there were a couple of questions that were asked that I thought were very good. And one of them, ironically, was by Dick Durbin, the senator from Illinois, asking about where Zuckerberg was staying in Washington, D.C. And another individual who I'm not terribly fond of, Lindsey Graham, asked a good question, asking Zuckerberg, well, who is your competitor? And Zuckerberg couldn't answer. And then Lindsey Graham chimed in, of course, you don't have a competitor, you're a monopoly. So anyway, Floyd, let it rip. People need to understand the unvarnished truth here.
Yeah, those were good questions. And in the House, the following day, the Republican whip Congressman Steve Scalise asked some very good questions, and that was about this whole notion of conservatives being censored on Facebook. There are basically a number of major, quote, conservative publishers on Facebook. One of them is Western Journal, which is the publication that I founded and am the publisher of, Larry, westernjournal.com. Another many people have heard of is Breitbart.com, and a third is Daily Wire, which is the publication of Ben Shapiro. And those three publications over time have done very well on this platform of Facebook. And what happened was in February of this year, they issued a new algorithm which basically greatly diminished those three voices and have taken away the ability of Western Journal. I can speak of specifically because it's the publication that I run, where Western Journal now is not able to reach the 41 million people that have liked our publication and our Facebook pages over the last few years. See, interestingly enough, when people join Facebook, they like the political leaders, they like the publications, and then they like their friends. And traditionally, they have an expectation that, hey, if I like Donald Trump, then I'm going to get communications from Donald Trump. Or if I like Western Journal, I'm going to get communications from Western Journal. Or if I like Larry Klayman, I'm going to get communications from Larry Klayman. And so what's happened is that this algorithm has decreased the ability of those of us that are on the right to reach our constituencies. And so instead, if somebody likes Western Journal, they're going to start getting left-wing propaganda from Huffington Post or from CNN. And we did a study, and you can find that at westernjournal.com, that actually documents this. And, we were the fourth, in January, we were the fourth biggest site on Facebook for publications, and now we're down at 22. And somebody like CNN in January was at 16, and now they've zoomed up to the absolute top. So CNN may not have viewers on their cable channel, but because of Mark Zuckerberg and the programmers and the engineers at Facebook, they've been able to zoom right to the very top, and they're in millions of people's feeds they've never been in before because of this censorship that's happening right here in America. It's a disgrace. It's happening on Facebook, and there's got to be major changes to this platform, Larry.
Floyd, it was the printing press that really sparked the first American Revolution. It's so powerful to be able to communicate, to educate, to get the people to understand what's going on. And that's why what you do is so valuable. And Western Journal is a great, great site, and people should go to it and read it. It's important that you be fully informed on what's going on. But what I wanted the listeners to understand, what is an algorithm?
Well, an algorithm is basically a computer program that's programmed by the engineers that picks and chooses what content gets into your newsfeed. When you sign up for Facebook, you go on and you like these different pages and you like these different people and you have your different friends. And then the algorithm is the program that chooses what content you get. So, you might hear from grandma, you might hear from your daughter, you might hear from your high school friend or your college roommate, and that algorithm is choosing based on the way you interact with all this content, what content it is you want. But they can bias it because it's being programmed by these programmers who sit out there in Silicon Valley. And Mark Zuckerberg admitted this week before Congress, yes, Silicon Valley is a very left-wing area. And yes, the people that he hires, even though he doesn't, have a political litmus test, at least according to him, he's taking them from a pool of people that are admittedly self-selected far left. And so when their political views get into their programming, they then diminish the ability of those of us on the right to reach our audiences. And that's wrong, because in order for a country to properly function under our Constitution, we have to have an informed citizenry. The citizens have to be able to get all views, and they have to be able to have a clear discussion of ideas. And the truth is that they don't when there's this kind of a manipulation going on in the Facebook algorithm.
And when people don't have the ability to express themselves, that becomes a pressure cooker. And that's what I'm talking about, as to what you and I and others are trying to avoid. We need to peacefully debate the issues. We need to educate the American people. They're not sufficiently educated. They're learning more day by day. And when they see things like raiding a lawyer's office, they can understand whether you're right, left, or center, that's just not right.
Right. And we have a very diverse nation. And so, the people in big cities in New York and in California, they live a very different life than people that live in Iowa or Indiana or Arizona, where I live. And yet what they want to do is stamp their lifestyle on us. And, really, if America's going to work, and the reason that the Constitution worked was because it was a very decentralized form of government. So in Arizona, we could run Arizona, and Indiana could run Indiana, and California could run California. And really, when everything's been taken to the federal level, you have a situation where, in essence, these big cities on both coasts want to run the middle of the country and run everybody's lives and micromanage them the way they micromanage them in these gigantic cities.
Well, that's right. And, I'm, as you know, Floyd, an old antitrust lawyer, was a young lawyer when I was breaking up AT&T on the team that did that at the Justice Department. And Facebook is a monopoly. I mean, certainly they get credit. We are both capitalists. We both believe that people should succeed on ability, on good ideas, on hard work. But when you become a monopoly, in effect, or an oligopoly, that's concentrated industry, but Facebook truly is a monopoly, don't you think there's a responsibility to behave in a neutral and independent manner and not favor one side or the other? The Europeans call that. I was actually an intern for the European community many years ago. When I left the Justice Department for about 5 months, it's called an abuse of dominant position. It's a violation of the antitrust laws. What's your thoughts on monopoly power of Facebook?
Yeah, well, Facebook is basically a network, and we have very established law for networks. It really goes back, Larry, to the railroads. When the railroads were built basically by the federal government from the East Coast out to the West, they put in some rules that the railroads had to follow. One was to treat all comers or all customers the same. It meant, when you're traveling from New York to L.A., they couldn't charge you one price and charge me a different price. And this held over into the telecommunications networks. AT&T, basically had a schedule of rates, and they charged those rates to all comers. So all businesses paid the same rates, all individuals paid the same rates, and we were all treated equally. Well, in these new modern digital networks, the problem becomes that it's really about treating all comers equally, and that means all messages from all people should be handled in the same way. And that's the problem with this huge market dominance. And literally, I just looked at the statistics this week, Larry. Facebook delivers 50% of all the news in the country. And there's literally 25% of the nation that gets their news only from Facebook. They get it no other place. They don't get it from ABC, NBC, CBS. They don't get it from, any of the cable channels. They get it only on Facebook. And so that's why it's so important that there be a balanced treatment of different ideas so that you can have this variety of ideas online. And it's extremely important. For example, during the Bundy case, there wasn't balanced coverage from the mainstream media, and so you had to go to sites like Western Journal or to alternative news sites, and it was only there that you would find a more balanced, discussion of what was going on at the Bundy Ranch. So especially when you have these flashpoints, it's important that we have good, balanced coverage from a variety of perspectives.
That's right. I was involved with Bundy, as you know, Floyd, and still am. We're trying to get the land in Nevada being declared owners by the people of Nevada, not the federal government. And we are up against a tremendous force here. I personally believe that the way the federal government has acted is worse than King George III back in the 1700s, because they have more powers. They have the NSA, they have the CIA, they have the FBI. And again, to come back to the raid on Cohen's office, I mean, this is something we would have seen from King George in the colonies. And that's why we need to communicate, to educate, because as the people become more educated and involved, then the politicians will have to follow us rather than us following them. They'll see the masses will not tolerate this anymore.
Yeah, well, it's very, very clear that the establishment in D.C., you can call it whatever you want. You can call it the establishment, you can call it the deep state, and whatever term you choose, they were shocked that Donald Trump was elected. They haven't processed it yet, and they haven't accepted it yet. And so they're doing everything they can to block him and to block his agenda, and they won't stop at illegal means to do that. And so it's a system that's spun completely out of control, and the only way it's going to get back under control is if Congress steps up together with the president and puts this silent attempted coup down, and it needs to happen now.
And, you and I both run nonprofits, so we never tell people how to vote, but we do say who it is we like and who we voted for. And the reality is that if Facebook is cut back, I mean, if it's censored, this will have a significant impact on who is elected to Congress, and for that matter, who's elected as the next president of the United States in 2020. And that's why.
Yeah, well, I think this is all about the election. You're right, Larry, and it's all about them reclaiming the social media platforms to pump up the candidates they want.
30.
That's right. Well, Floyd, I want to thank you for coming on. You're a fighter, and we need more Floyd Browns in this country. I urge people to go to Western Journal, read that. It's a great publication. It tells the truth. And we need people like you, Floyd. So thank you very much for everything that you do.
Right back at you, Larry. Thank you for all you do.
You're welcome. We'll be right back.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I really love this president. You know what I love about him? He says what he thinks. He says things that I've been talking about since I started Judicial Watch in 1994, and I was thinking about before that. The corruption in the judiciary, the corruption in the legal profession, the corruption of the establishment, the swamps. When he first announced he was running for president, he said, I know the way it works. I legally bribed all of them. Basically, they got down, they kissed my feet because I gave them money. Well, you know what? I'm a billionaire now. I don't have to do that anymore. And I've seen the light, and I'm changing. People do change, and that goes with regard to anything the president did with Stormy Daniels or anybody else. I really could care less. I really don't. This country's in a crisis, and I don't care about that about the nonsense of the tabloids right now. We need to solve this question. But I also got to tell you is that when I have to be, I've got to be critical in some respects. And this president, I don't think right now is getting good advice with regard to Syria. Why is it? And I think he's overreacting because people have said that he's been in bed with Vladimir Putin, quite apart from, these other individuals, literally. But you can't overreact. And what is it about Syria that requires our intervention? If these people want to kill each other, let them kill each other. I mean, we can't save everybody in the world. There are atrocities going on all over the place. And I say let Israel deal with it because it is a serious problem. Iran has infiltrated Syria. It's setting up military bases. But we don't need to ignite a potential nuclear war between the United States and Russia. And thanks to our friend Obama, the reality is the Russian military is now more powerful than our own in a nuclear sense, much more modern, much more capable. And we don't even know if our stuff works anymore. And we don't want to see it work because the whole world's going to go up in flames. So what's the point in triggering a war over Syria when, in fact, this could only lead to something much worse? So I say to the president, sober up. This is not a question of manhood. You don't need to be pushed into this to show that you're tough with Vladimir Putin. We know you're tough. Let's focus on North Korea. Let's focus on Iran. And frankly, Syria needs a strong leader, even if it's a despot. Look what happened with Saddam Hussein. We would have been better off letting Iran and Iraq fight it out with each other. Let them kill each other until the very end. Why do we have to intervene? So that's my caution this week. And I love this president. And I believe that he will be proven to be even greater than Ronald Reagan in the end. But don't take the bait here with regard to Putin. We can deal with a lot of things in this world without doing that. And then I want to have a final commentary on the march of the Me Too movement. There are a lot of things that need to be resolved in with regard to the relationships between men and women. But the answer is not to have people come forward and make allegations 40 years later against people, whether it's Judge Roy Moore or whether it's others. And I never liked even Bill Cosby, to be honest. I never thought he was funny. I don't like his politics. But I got to tell you something. I got to look sideways at what's going on up there because these women were willing participants, many of them. Some of them have admitted on the witness stand that they took Quaaludes. But what do you expect when you're taking that stuff? And to put this guy away for the rest of his life and to have him out on $1 million bail, and I don't even like him, frankly, it tells you where we're headed as a country. It's become a witch hunt in a number of other areas. Harvey Weinstein deserves what he gets. Kevin Spacek, on the gay side, harassing gay men, deserves what he gets. But not every man is guilty of harassing a woman here. And that's what it's getting to. And he just needs allegations to make those allegations to destroy a man's life. And it's time that men stood up and protected themselves and spoke out rather than just cowering in the corner. So these are my messages for this week. Go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. Sign the petitions to have me appointed special counsel. Sign the petitions urging the resignation or firing of Jeff Sessions. And write the White House, either with emails or letters, inundate the White House and say, look, President Trump, now's the time to be yourself. Appoint Larry Klayman special counsel. He'll clean house, and he'll do it legally, he'll do it ethically, and this country will at least partially be put back on the right track. And we look to you to be our leader and to succeed and to make America great again. God bless you all. We'll be back next week.